mom was recommending that why don't you do accounting? It was kind of a no-brainer since my mom was pregnant with me, getting her master's, taking her accounting courses like right around the time I was born. So I've been doing accounting since before I was born. So I think that she just knew it was a career path that would be conducive to success in my life.
All right, guys, we're back for another episode of Defining Success with Matt Foster. I have the amazing Kristen Arnold. If you guys just look at her on the screen right here, you would not expect the category of business that she is in. If I were to give you 5 guesses, you probably still wouldn't pick it. But she is an amazing CPA. She runs her own firm. She has a lot of experience. She has a lot of high net worth clients that have complicated California taxes that she helps them navigate, from their residential properties to investments to K1s, oil, gas, just everything that you can think of. She really stays on top of it and lets clients, including myself, sleep well at night because she does such a great job. And so, Kristen, I really appreciate having you on today. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Matt, for the very flattering introduction. I think I'd be interested to know what people's immediate thoughts were, because
Yeah, 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 exactly.
most
Hey, if you
people
guys
don't
want
guess
to
CPA.
Yeah, if you guys want to leave it in the comments, this full length will be on YouTube and some online. So if you guys want to leave it in the comments, guess what Kristen does for a living? Without spoiler alert, watching to the end of that introduction. So Kristen, I know you're a Central Valley girl. I know you're from here. Talk to me a little bit about where you grew up and just a little bit about childhood and life growing up here in the Central Valley.
Yes, thank you so much. So I was born and raised in the Central Valley, more specifically Turlock, California. And
Mhm.
my upbringing was a very casual, I might say sheltered upbringing. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten until eighth grade. And
Mhm.
thereafter, I went to Pittman High School and graduated in 2011. From there, I was at a crossroads in my life in terms of going to college. Going to college was never really a question for me. But the decision of do I stay home and go to Modesto Junior College, or do I go away to San Diego State University where I was accepted, was a really hard decision to make. So ultimately, due to personal reasons and other influences, I did decide to stay home and attend Modesto Junior College, which was a
Okay.
phenomenal experience for me. At that point in my life, I didn't necessarily have my eyes set on becoming a CPA, or when you're 18 years old, you're not quite sure what you want to do yet. But me being a believer in education, I again knew that college was going to be the route for me. MJC was an amazing experience for me. I am a through and through advocate for starting at JC. It was the perfect jump
Mhm.
from high school into college, and the professors at MJC were amazing. The help is out there if you want it and if you're committed. So really, there's, in my opinion, no excuse. So
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
after Modesto Junior College, I attended California State University Stanislaus in my hometown of Turlock,
Mhm.
California.
Shout
And
out, shout out Stan State.
shout out Stan State. Nothing wrong with staying home and going to college. And when I was attending California State University Stanislaus, again, I even up until the point that I applied for graduation with a major in business administration and a concentration in finance, I was set up to graduate, had my graduation approved, and with my trajectory of most likely staying in the Central Valley, it was actually my mom that brought up to me, Kristen, what are you going to do with a finance degree when we don't live,
Mhm.
you know, in proximity too close to a bigger city? Like, what is your job outlook? I'm like a college
Mhm.
student, not really thinking about that. And I didn't have an answer, which wasn't a good thing as I'm about to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom was recommending that why don't you do accounting? So it was kind of a no-brainer since my mom was pregnant with me getting her master's, taking her accounting courses like right around the time I was born. So I've been doing accounting since before I was born. So I think that she just knew it was a career path that would be conducive to success in my life. So I did take her advice and I decided to stay in college and complete the required accounting courses. And at the same time is when I started my first career job at Atherton and Associates in Modesto.
Nice, nice. And I think I'll stop right there real quick too. I think because I went to Stan State as well. I think what happens with getting an accounting degree, what's really nice is that's actually a functional skill that underlines any business that you're going to go into, regardless. So even if you do finance, if you have the foundation underneath you of accounting, you're actually a better finance choice, even if that was the route that you ended up pursuing in a bigger city. Having the dualness to yourself of actually understanding the accounting side, you can go further and faster even in finance. So that
Yes,
was some really good
absolutely
advice
true.
from your mom, just to set you up that way with a direct skill that can
Absolutely.
take you places.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And
And then from there, so with your mom kind of putting you toward that path, and then you kind of agreeing, you did you immediately kind of change over to adding accounting classes, or was it another semester or so before you made the jump?
yeah, that's a good question. So, because I was approved to graduate and I had all of my course requirements completed at that point, to do the accounting courses was an additional 3 semesters. So, I
Sure.
was going to school full time for the accounting courses while I also was starting my career at Atherton. So, the way that that transition worked out, it became more of a challenge to go into work. And the
Mhm.
curriculum at Stanislaus is intended for students to go into private accounting, to work at like a Gallo, Foster Farms, Del Monte, bigger companies like that,
Mhm.
to work in their internal accounting department. I knew that I never had any interest in doing that and that I was going to go the public accounting route, meaning income taxes, other types of taxes where you're directly working with the public, with your clients. So
Mhm.
it became such a challenge to go into work and
Almost impossible, right? Because what were they asking of you at Atherton? What was your job responsibilities along with being a full-time state accounting student, which isn't easy either.
yeah, so the job requirements basically like I was thrown in like an intern and was doing actual tax returns and helping with actual client cases pretty much effective immediately. And there was a really big learning curve that I'm going to
Mhm.
be honest, I would go home some days crying, thinking to myself, how am I ever going to understand this? When is this going to click for me? Am I in over my head? And I'm looking at my peers that have been doing this for a while, and it's like stars in my eyes, thinking that these are idols to me and mentors to me, and this is how am I ever going to attain that level of understanding and that level of professionalism to be doing what they're doing. So it was a lot of on the job training, but I feel like with maintaining a positive mindset and being gentle on myself, also understanding that hey, this is new to me, there's going to be some
Mhm.
inherent roadblocks that I'm going to encounter, but with my eyes set on the bigger goal of I know this is what I want. I know this is what I'm going to work hard towards. And ultimately, I want to be a CPA and represent that sort of like idol, not necessarily idol, but a status of where like I looked up to the partners at Atherton with like stars in my eyes and saw how the clients looked at them. It was like, I want to be that for my clients one day, to be the person that they go to for help when they're stressed, for peace of mind when they feel like their taxes are out of control and they don't have a real pulse on what's going on. So, with that bigger goal in mind, I really just kept with it and kept going and faced a lot of obstacles in that first year of my career, including having a hip surgery that it was a crazy year, but that foundation that was set for me at Atherton is literally the reason why I'm sitting here today.
Yeah, and I think 2 points to pull out of that. One is um, not getting overwhelmed by the sea of information, right? I imagine that people feel the same way getting into finance, getting into a legal career. You know, as a first year or an intern in a law company, I imagine that you're looking at the partners who've been doing it 20, 30 years. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to understand all this law and all this procedure and the way to do it, and how to gain the trust and confidence of my clients because I actually know what I'm doing, but also good rapport in walking them through their cases. And so I think one good point for the audience to realize is that just because you're, like you said, when you have more of a long-term goal that you're going to hit, don't be so discouraged by the long road ahead. I think when you're zooming back and looking at how far it is, it's part of the journey. The only reason the partners seem as good as they are is because they walk through all the obstacles and that whole same path you see forward. And I think that also brings a second point, which is actually being clear about what you want. Because if you're not clear that being a CPA is what you want, you would have quit at that time. It's too hard. It's impossible. I'm never going to understand this information. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to do something else. So again, um, not being too discouraged on the long road, but then also knowing that this is where you want to go. So you're actually committed to no matter what it takes. I'm gonna make it work. Hip surgery, finishing college. Talk to me a little bit about the hip surgery. That's you're pretty young to have gotten a hip surgery. What did you have an injury from sports or?
Yes, that's a really good question. So, when I started working at Atherton in January 2016, I was already experiencing some hip issues because at that time in my life, this feels like forever ago, but I was training for like a bodybuilding bikini competition. So
Okay, all
that's
right.
like it seems like a different lifetime. But I was working with a trainer and I was letting him know, hey, like my hip is hurting me. So I had played club soccer for my entire childhood, which I guess that's important to
Mm,
mention since soccer really shaped me as an individual, especially in terms of dedication, competitiveness, discipline, motivation, teamwork, all the things that come with a team sport. So,
getting better at something that you're bad at, like even in soccer, seeing it like over time how your skills improved, and that was a positive feedback to keep trying harder and harder and becoming a better player.
yes, absolutely, all of those things. So, I had been having hip issues for a while, and then when I started to train in more of like a bodybuilding, lifting weights type of sense, my hip was really flaring up, and I was essentially
Mm,
letting my trainer know, hey, like I'm in pain, and pain can be confused for soreness so often that I was
mhm,
also working with the chiropractor and doing adjustments, things like that in between training sessions. And it got to the point where I remember going to work at Atherton. I would be working at my desk like on my knees because I couldn't even sit because of the pain in my hip.
mm,
So it was frustrating for me, but essentially I kept at it. I saw a doctor in Modesto and she was like, you need to take an Advil. It's fine. I'm like, this is worse than just an Advil. Like something's going on. So I ended up going up to UCSF and seeing an orthopedic surgeon up there. And in one appointment, they had diagnosed me with a torn hip labrum and bone spurs
mm,
on my pelvis. So surgery was required to correct the torn labrum, and I had a choice at that time to wait until after the next tax season or to have a brief window of time that I could do it, before tax season. So with my second official tax season coming up, I wanted to be so dedicated, no distractions. Like this is my time to shine during tax season to do a lot of
mhm,
volume of client
mhm.
work and really to set that foundation. So I opted in to have the surgery on November 21st, 2016. And it was a successful surgery, but it was really intense. So I
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, and knee surgery, hip surgery, I feel like it's a long recovery, painful recovery, right? Like it's pretty rough to deal with. And
yeah,
pelvic too, like as far as like pain wise, right? Like in the recovery.
absolutely. It really was. And something that has been part of my career journey that has stood out to me, which this is admittedly a double edged sword, had been my commitment to my career above
Mhm.
everything else in my life. So this was a point in my
Mm.
life where I literally had blinders on. And this probably isn't the best thing to admit, but right after I had surgery, I'm back on my laptop in my recliner on pain meds and I'm doing work. So
Nice.
I
Nice.
didn't give myself the time that my body physically needed to recover. Yes, I did still recover, but the mental side of it was not focused on my recovery. It was focused on my career, which looking back wasn't what served my highest and best self in that moment. And it's been a struggle for me during this journey, during my career, to balance my dedication to my career and to my end goal of owning my business, servicing my own clients. It's been a journey and at times not so much of a happy one because of my extreme tunnel vision with my career.
Yeah, and I think that's been a testament to successful people is a sense of obsession, right? And I've
Yes.
talked with different guests also too about it's kind of it's a dark energy that you know can be directed either way too. Like that obsessiveness could be directed toward drinking, drugs, other
Yep.
vices, wrong environment, or it can be like you said, blinders on. And Daniel likes to always talk about this, and just so you guys know too. So Daniel's the team leader for the Del Rio Group. Kristen also does his taxes, all 35,000 pages of them. And Daniel talks about your life being kind of like a laser, right? Sun rays spread apart will warm it up, but a laser actually like this will actually cut through. So you know the only reason a laser can come together is actually from the reduction in the saying no to a lot of things that we really just don't have the bandwidth to say yes to everything, but then still be a laser. So it's just that hopefully that there's a period of your life where you're able to power up as a laser and then maybe become so effective at what you do and leverage and be able to delegate that you can still be a laser, still be sharp, still cut through, be on top of it, be as sharp as you need to be, keep growing, but then also now your life expands and you can include more of the things that you had to say no to get sharp. So I hear you on that too. I have some of those same tendencies in me that it's just easier actually. It's easier when you just can just hey give me one thing and I'll just get after it, right?
Yeah,
Um, and and
absolutely.
and and look at and even for you what's interesting though too is like during that hip surgery I see you typing away, but who knows with the personality that you already knew that you had in you, that competitive fire, if you didn't if you just started watching TV, maybe you would have actually been diverted off your path. Maybe that recovery time would have been enough to like you would have been a couple steps behind going back to Atherton. Not saying that you shouldn't recover, but you were just so dedicated to the identity of a long-term goal that you're like hip or not, I'm not gonna lose a step, and you weren't about to dull yourself down by just sitting around. So who knows, right? How that
Yeah,
how that would have gone.
absolutely. And since the day that I started working, I have felt this unrelenting commitment to not only my job and whoever I was working for, but more so to the client. And that
Mhm.
commitment has allowed me to really stand out as someone who this isn't just a job where I'm coming in and clocking out and getting the work done because I need to. It's always been more of a deep resonation with me in terms of having this responsibility that this is this client's life. It's your business and your life is like this. There's so much overlap, there's so much interplay between them that you don't compartmentalize where okay, the business is doing amazing and my life is falling apart, those they can't exist at the same time. They have to be synergetic with each other. Your business needs you just like your personal life needs you. And I've just understood from a very young age, I guess, and from being a baby accountant, that these clients' businesses is a direct reflection of their overall livelihood and their lifestyle, and it's nothing to mess around with. So the gravity of servicing clients in this capacity has just never fallen short on me, and I've just felt like it's this innate responsibility that I have that I don't want to let my clients down.
Yeah, no, and that's really beautiful thing, Kristen. I can say that from our multiple hours of conversation, as we poured through my own tax situation, I had to go through two or three, 4 out of 10 type CPAs to get to a good one. And I think that's really the tough part for a majority of people is that it's like we don't know what's going on under the hood. We only are kind of at the mercy of trying to get a referral to somebody that we trust, right?
Yes.
But just to kind of pull your story to where we're at today. So you're at Atherton, your hips recovering, right? Hopefully,
Yes.
you had a full recovery, right? Talk to me a little bit about what was the story from Atherton pulling through to you actually starting your own practice.
Yes, absolutely. So, in the grand scheme of things, Atherton again is like almost a home base for me because of the relationships that I developed there, the mentors that I still have today that are from Atherton. So that really served as the foundation for my technical skills and for the level of professionalism that is now my standard today. So
Mm-hmm.
after Atherton, I stayed at Atherton for about 4.5, 5 years, and all good things come to an end. All good
Mm-hmm.
things come to
Yep.
an end. And COVID, as we all know, was a crazy time. There was a lot of job movement going on, and I was one of those people. So during COVID, consider me accident prone. I broke my wrist. And I had
Mm.
some time off of work where I was able to really reflect on where my career was headed and if I was truly fulfilled while working at Atherton. And it led me to reach out to a few recruiters that I thought, why not? It's up to me to go where I need to go next, and wherever that's going to be, I have an open mindset. So while working with these recruiters, I let them know that I was willing to relocate. So
Mm.
this hometown girl that never ever thought I was going to leave Turlock, California, got a job
Yep.
offer in Roseville, California, about 99 miles from Turlock. So
Yeah,
I went up
which
to
feels like a whole
Roseville.
which feels like a whole different area when you're used to just being in Turlock anywhere
Yes.
100 miles out. It's like, oh my gosh, where are you going?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, um, again, kind of another crossroads of do I stay, do I go, just like what I faced after high school with my college decision. Except this time I have had a little bit more support with my fiance Teddy, who has been
Mm.
my number one supporter, my push when I need it. So with the Roseville decision, with Teddy's blessing, because he was still going to be commuting to Modesto, we decided to proceed. So I got a job making 1.5 times the amount that I was making at Atherton, and for the first time I was like, holy shit, this is like big money for me. Like I can't
Yeah.
believe that the financial reward that I've kind of been waiting for is coming to fruition. You know, a lot of people get into public accounting because there's money in accounting, and to see the dollar signs with the Roseville job, I took it and was like, let's go. So
Mm.
with that being said, with that decision, there was a clear path to partnership within a couple of years at the firm that I was going to, which was my end goal. I knew I wanted that.
Mhm.
I've known since the first day I started working, I want to be a partner. I want to be in a position of leadership. So, with that being said, there was a clear path to partnership. I thought, why not? And we did make the big move. I'm going to call it a big move in a relative context from Turlock to Roseville. So, in Roseville, it was a big shift moving away from home and really being on our own, my own for the first time. So a lot was happening in terms of a personal journey as well as a professional one, making my first career move from my first career job. That can be a tough move to make. I see so many people get stuck in that first career job after college, or even if you didn't attend college and it's just your first career job, it's so easy for people to get stuck. So I just want to sneak in this piece of advice: be willing to move careers or jobs within your career. Most often times, your biggest pay increase, if that's what you're looking for, if you feel stagnant at your job because of pay, more times than not, your pay increase is going to come with a new company. So it was a journey in and of itself moving to Roseville. I worked at the firm Scott and Baldwin for about a year, and some of their internal policies weren't conducive to growth. So I
Mhm.
looked for a different job. It's like, you know what, I just changed jobs, I can do it again. Being a CPA, there's a lot of demand for a strong CPA, especially in public accounting. Being a manager in the middle is the hardest place to be. So getting a management type
Mhm.
job in public accounting as a CPA with experience is easy. It just is. So with that being said, I was stoked for my new job. The individual that hired me had 1 million followers on Instagram. The growth for the firm
Mhm.
itself was limitless, and that's what I was really looking for. And there were promises made to me for, again, the path to partnership. More than that, more personal branding and development that I had never even really opened my eyes to. So I was really excited. Again, like another hopeful firm that seemed like it was in alignment with my values, where I was headed. And before I started at the firm, I made a promise to myself that this was going to be it. This is the last firm I'm working for. I'm
Mhm.
If this doesn't work out, I'm starting my own business. If this works out, this is where I'm going to be forever. I don't like the job movement, even though it was an option for me. Again, being more of that loyal, committed type of personality, I want to work somewhere for a longer period of time to have that consistency, not only with my job, but with my clients. That's probably the even
Mhm.
more emphasized point to
Because you
make
build
there.
up, yeah, you build up these relationships. So like when you're leaving, you're not just leaving work, but you're actually leaving
Exactly.
relationships from your coworkers, and then also from the clients itself. And then I just wanted to ask one quick question. What It's
Yes.
kind of like having difficult conversations, right? Like once you have one difficult conversation, it's easier to have a second one. Did you feel a lot less shaky making your second move from Scott and Baldwin to your next firm than you did going from Atherton to the Roseville
Yes,
situation?
that's
Did it feel a lot more just kind of logical, a little bit more just like, hey, you know what, let me just run my options again, and you know that you're wanted, but a little bit more confidence in that I can make it for myself. I just got to
yes.
find the right bus to be on.
Yes, absolutely. And even that's a perfect point to make. And the secret power that I feel like I unlocked with my second job move was the ability to advocate for myself and to
Yes.
have that
Yep.
self-confidence of, I know what I deserve to make in terms of compensation. I know what I deserve in terms of a working arrangement. So I had the difference was is that I had my own sort of boundaries and my expectations, and I wasn't afraid to express that and to ultimately get what I wanted. The first job move was kind of like, I just feel lucky to be here, and if you're going to offer me that, I'm
Mm,
cool with it, with no prior expectation. So I really feel like I more so came into my own with my second job move with self-confidence and being able to put myself out there in terms of negotiating salary, negotiating a sign-on bonus, negotiating vacation weeks. We're not taught those skills in terms of how to professionally relay that message without coming across as disrespectful or um, arrogant, things like that. So that was a little like secret to my second job move, that I felt proud of myself having that uncomfortable conversation. But at the end of the day, when I'm looking around, it's like the only person that's going to do this is me. And if I don't do it, it's not going to happen. And I only have me to look back at. So it really
Mhm.
was just an empowering moment of, I'm doing this for me and no one else is going to do this.
And that's yeah, I love that. I want to sit with that for just a second. I think a lot of people, if they look back on the decisions of their life, they actually really never made any decisions. You
Yes.
just kind of followed somewhat of a path that was maybe laid out for you, or you had inklings towards. And that's why also a lot of people have a hard time seeing success and progress in their life, because you really have to get clear, you really have to advocate for yourself, you really have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, that no matter what home you were raised in, that at a certain point as an adult, even people that you care about, having those tough conversations with loved ones, as creating boundaries in your life sometimes. And then also on the work front, when you are making a switch, if there was ever the best time to ask for something, it's in the season of, what you're bringing to the table. And if they really want you, they'll pretty much give you, they'll pretty much within reason, they'll give you what you want. And what's funny is, probably even looking back at the Scott and Baldwin, you're like, man, probably could have got 3x my Atherton salary, right? Like, you're all stoked because you were underpaid for so long, that you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I made it. When it's like, oh man, they're like, hey, we got her on the cheap, man.
Yes.
It's funny how they think.
Literally,
And
you
then
just probably explained exactly what happened.
yeah, they're just like perfect. And then one other point, guys, is that, not to be morbid at all, but sometimes we do got to face that, we're in a game that we don't get out of alive, right? So at the end of the day, and you see it happen, if someone drops dead, you'll get replaced. They'll fill your spot pretty quickly. So at the end of the day, beyond even advocating for yourself, is sometimes God or whatever else puts us on the sidelines. Like when you broke your wrist, if you didn't break your wrist, would you have had time to get out of the rat race for a second, to even think that, oh man, am I really getting paid what I'm worth? Like my boss is not that terrible. Sometimes God has to actually sideline us to actually think about what's going on in our lives. So just to remember,
So
guys, that
true.
just because your commitment's there for a company, and not saying that their commitment's not towards you, but they will have to replace you if you go. So same thing is that if the opportunity, and a lot of times opportunity is not inside the environment that you're always most comfortable with or local to you, and you do have to hunt for it, and you do have to get after it. So I love that you found your power. I love that you advocated for yourself and get after it. And then I also love that you made a commitment in yourself, and we're going to get to the next part here, that hey, either I'm gonna become a partner and also personally branded and a rock star with this company, or Kristen Arnold is about to be her own boss, and I'm gonna take on that challenge. So tell me a little bit about the road with your last company, and then where the signs started popping up that, hey, you know what, it isn't working again, and I'm not going to work for another company because I'm not going to control the factors, and I'm gonna start my own thing. Tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So after I was hired, I was so excited, and it was um, a natural move, I think, to go and work for this company for my long term goals.
Mm-hmm.
However, things very, very quickly took a turn for the worse when I was informed in private and confidentially that the partner that hired me had left the firm. So my mind is spinning. All these amazing promises that are so in alignment with where I'm headed were just made to me. I just switched jobs for this, and the rug was pulled out from under my feet. So the experience that I was promised never came to fruition. Anytime a public accounting firm or any type of firm loses one of their partners unexpectedly, it's always chaos to follow. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of distractions with the split between a father and a son partnership, and
Mm.
it just it never started well and it didn't end well. So the in between is more of the same, and ultimately it led to us parting ways immediately after tax season 2022.
Got it. So
So
how many years did you get to work on this firm while they were trying to like you entered right into a shaky season? Did you get through like two tax seasons with them or two or three?
no, I didn't. So I only was employed there for 10 months. And during that 10 months, I revamped internal processes, the work papers that support the entire tax returns, not only for businesses, but for individuals. And there was just a notable discrepancy between my values and what I represent versus the firm. So it
Mm.
happens and it's okay, is my
Yeah.
main message. Instead of
Yeah.
dwelling on everything that that transpired and the way that I was mistreated, um, again, I made that promise to myself that this is it. So the plot twist with that story is that my fiance and I had made a decision in November 2021 that we were going to move to Florida. We
Mm.
were not feeling the most aligned with what was going on in California, and we didn't see that as a viable option for us anymore, even though every single one of our family, every single one of our friends is located in California. We felt strongly enough that we were in search of a better quality of life for ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
again, this girl that never thought that she was gonna leave Turlock with my fiance that never thought he was gonna leave Hilmar, we had in the works we were gonna move to Florida. So during the time that tax season was coming to an end, we were waiting until tax season to finish to make our drive across country, which started April 23rd, 2022. My departure with my previous company happened on April 20th, 2022. So I had 3 days to conceptualize the fact that I'm moving across country with my fiance and my dog, and I don't have any idea how I'm going to make money.
Mm.
So, a daunting, kind of ominous start to our journey, but everything ended up working out. I remember vividly that day on April 20th calling Teddy, my fiance, and letting him know what had happened with my previous employer. And he basically was like, it's okay. Everything's going to work out. We're still going. And you're going to figure this out. He had every ounce of faith in me as a professional and as his significant other that things were going to work out. So, with that sigh of relief, I was like, I'm still going. I'm still going. Nothing's going to get me down. That promise I made to myself that this is the last firm for me. I I have to stick to that. So in the coming months, I put myself out there and was looking for contract work to essentially be an
Mm-hmm.
independent contractor, work with a CPA firm that needed help on special projects with my specialty of income taxation for businesses and individuals. There's a lot of work out there. And so I was confident that I would be able to find work. It took about a month of searching and searching and searching. It turned out to be a little bit harder than I thought, but ultimately, I was able to identify a firm in Los Angeles, California that needed help with some projects, and so they took me on. In the meantime, I was still hell bent on starting my business. I had
Mm-hmm.
recruiters reaching out to me offering $300,000 for a tax manager position, which is like dangling a carrot in front of me in terms of
Yep.
this is my easy way out. If I want to just keep doing what I'm doing, go work for another firm, make really good money, here it is. It's on the silver platter. It would be easy for me to get that type of position because of my experience and holding a professional license.
Mm-hmm.
I never had any interest. I never even interviewed with a firm to go to work. I had my eyes set, like blinders on, that I was going to start my own business. So, Mr. Daniel Del Real is my business mentor. I jokingly call him my fairy godfather because
Yep.
he has supported me within my business more than more than anyone has, and he has provided a referral source for me that provided me the confidence to know that I have someone behind me that is going to 100% support me. And
Mm-hmm.
it brought tears to my eyes, more than tears to my eyes. Maybe there was some ugly crying when I reached out to Daniel and he let me know that he had full intention to continue to work with me and to support me. So
Wow.
it's amazing how things work out. And looking back, I can't even piece these different things together if I tried. It unfolded in such a way that I can only describe as divine timing in my life. So, our move to Florida has been amazing, and the quality of life that I live now is something that I only dreamed of. So,
Mm.
I again never thought that I would be sitting here in this chair today, especially in Florida, but here I am and I deserve this and I've worked extremely hard for this. And one thing that I can say for sure is that I've never given up.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say is that I think sometimes we undersell ourselves, right? Like even though you'd put in years and years and years of work and promotions and even though you're getting offered, you know, 200, $300,000 jobs, I think sometimes we still have some sense of identity problems of like undeserving
Yes,
or
imposter
just
syndrome.
imposter syndrome. Yeah, we're trying we're trying to keep it chill, but here's the thing. You know what? When people that are really in our corner show up for us, that's it's so important because they can see objectively what we can't. And Daniel obviously saw that you had all the trappings that you know he's had his own you know multiple interactions with a lot of different CPAs and could see that you know your hunger to get after it, your hunger to like learn new information, stay sharp, be open, not and you know I've had conversations with other people that a lot of CPAs have just this little subway and if you don't fit into this pathway of going down, then they're not really interested in studying any of the other routes to get to the destination, even if it would save you money or benefit you, just because it falls out of their comfort zone.
Yes,
And it's not even about going against the IRS, but it's just about their own mode of doing business that it gets to a stagnant place where this is just the way that they do it, and that's it. So I think Daniel recognized that fire in you, and also the skill set that you've just been hammering away at year after year. And I can say that
definitely.
I've seen the difference because the other part too is that it's one part that I just give you everything and you just chopping everything up, and then all of a sudden instead of a $40,000 bill, I'm getting back 10 grand. That feels like you did the right thing. But then the other part is that I actually understand, even though I may not fully comprehend to the level that you do, because I just it's not my job. But you take the time to explain so that way not only am I happy with the result, but I'm actually happy with how you put the ingredients together, how you bake the cake, and then now we get to, you know, we get to enjoy the party, right? So,
Yes,
um, testament to you, Kristen, on really great communication, on but even beyond that, being just it's just like you know why would someone spend 500,000 on a lawyer, right? if they're the best in the world at what they do and they could save you from life in prison. So when it comes to taxes, that's how I feel about you, Kristen, and you really rock it out. So
Thank
um
you.
now here we are. You have your own place. You're in Florida, you, Teddy, and the dog. You guys are getting used to the humidity.
Yes.
Business is going one specific question. If someone else is in the same space, say that they're a CPA looking to start their own firm, if anything, would you have done anything differently about how you incorporated or how you set it up if you were to do it again? Of course, you probably corrected certain things as you've gone on
Yes.
being a on the business owner side of being your own CPA firm. What is your general advice if somebody is actually like they have that skill set, they want to do it, but now to create the business of doing it?
Yes, that's a really, really good question. So, for CPAs specifically, we learn a lot through our clients and some of the mistakes that they maybe have made in the past or some mistakes that they've encountered. So, for me, because I had industry experience servicing clients, I had and not only that, but working with attorneys on client cases, I had a really good idea of what it would take for the logistical side of starting the business,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm going to do a little plug right here. This concept of educating others what it takes to start your own business is my passion. Education is my passion. So, this next concept of starting your own business and the actual like boots on the ground how to, there's a lot more coming from me on that.
All right. Hey, that's awesome. Be
Yes.
on the lookout. Be on the lookout for that, guys. And then is there any like just one or two nuggets that we can just tease them with? Of course, you don't need to
Yes.
give them the whole deal, but just one or
Absolutely.
two pointers in the right
Absolutely.
in the right direction.
Absolutely. A couple of nuggets are: ask who, not how.
Mm-hmm.
When you are starting your business, a strong foundation is the number one most important thing. You can be the best business owner, you can have 10,000 clients, you can be making $1 million, but if you're set up, and when I mean set up, I'm talking about entity structure, how
Mm-hmm.
that plays into your taxes, um, your legal structure. Do you
Mm-hmm.
personally have legal limited liability protection where your personal assets are safe? That is the number one most important thing, is to have a bulletproof foundation. How to achieve that? Again, ask who, not how. You're a new business owner. You're trying to understand even what this is going to look like for you. Let someone help you get your foundation set in a way that you know is going to benefit and service the duration of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So that means me as a CPA, yes, I can figure things out. I have industry experience. I still hired an attorney to have a conversation about getting my business started here in Florida. What's the best operating entity for me? If I'm doing business in other states, do I need to register there too? So many businesses get caught up on these baby little compliance type things that end up biting you in the ass. So, shortcuts are the long way. Do it right from the beginning. Do not skip the steps to just do it right. Like, I could beg people to please just do it right and listen to what your experts around you are telling you. That's one of the nuggets. My second nugget is what I just alluded to in terms of who is surrounding your business. Do you have trusted business advisors? No, I don't mean your friend. No, I don't mean the person that you saw on TikTok. I mean real connections that have your best interest and only want to see you successful in your business venture. There's high risk starting your own business. You put yourself on the line, you put your blood, sweat, and tears on the line. It is a massive undertaking that is not to be taken lightly. So if you're making little shortcuts and doing things this and this, and you're trusting your friend's advice and this and that, it might work for you in the short term, but for a long-term sustainable business that is geared towards your success and your protection, you have to have competent service members in your corner. Your
Mm-hmm.
attorney, your insurance specialist, your CPA, your bookkeeper, anyone that your business needs to run successfully, you need to have them in your corner almost from the day that you start.
Yeah,
So
no,
that
I
means,
love that.
yep,
It's like your boardroom. Like if you were actually running a business, even if it's just you, if you were actually running a business, who sits with you? If you're talking about taxes, insurance, um, anything that pertains to your business, where someone is actually a specialist, not a generalist. It's so funny that we like really kind of lean down to take opinions from people that have lives that we don't want, that have results that we don't want, and it really matters to surround yourself, and this is why I sleep well at night, guys. In my boardroom, I have Kristen as my CPA, and also this is not mutually exclusive, but sometimes your CPA is not this tax strategist. And then I have
yes,
Edia on my bookkeeping side. So between those two, my taxes and bookkeeping, I sleep great at night. My whole business is siloed, protected in the right way. My, on the law side, my legal business is right. I have the right amount of interaction in
yep,
my business, and it's just you don't know what you don't know, guys. So get
you don't.
around get around people that are smarter than you. Find a way to get into rooms with people that are ahead of you, and it's exciting actually to understand some of what the amazing things you can do when you're actually with people that are experts in their field. So absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely right. I love it.
Yep. And it's not
Um,
up to the business owner. As a business owner, you're never going to know everything. You need to focus on working on the business and growing and promoting, not necessarily in the business. You
mhm.
need to have people you can delegate that type of stuff to because, for example, I would never expect Matt to take time away from his real estate clients and his promotion of his own business to learn a tax strategy. That's
Mhm.
Matt isn't being efficient with his time, and instead his hours of research and time, he can come to me and say, Kristen, hey, I'm trying to achieve this. It's up to you. I'm already an expert. I can come up with something quickly off the top of my head that is a viable solution for Matt versus Matt taking hours away from his clients and trying to come up with things. It's
Mhm.
again, ask who, not how. And if you have a little voice in the back of your head that's saying, I don't know if I trust this person, trust that voice. Move on to the next service provider. People are very quick to move on to CPAs, to move on from CPAs. If you have that nagging doubt in your mind that you're not receiving the level of service that your business not only deserves but needs, move on and find a practitioner that is undoubtedly in your corner.
Yes. Yes. No. Expert advice. Be sure you guys pause right there. Maybe listen to that whole section over again. I think we again back to not making decisions in your own life. Sometimes the people that we allow into our life actually was never a decision. They randomly showed up there, and then we have a sense of commitment to people that randomly showed up in our life, or just by being in the same environment that over time some people are with us for a long time. Some people are with us for a short time. But when it comes to your business, you need to be part of the process about picking who you're listening to, and then also what you're gonna apply from people that you actually trust. And there needs to be that level of trust. So back to
Absolutely.
back to you, Kristen, on taxes. I did want to get into a little bit of your expertise. I wanted to talk specifically on some tax questions that I know come up over and over again. So when you are reviewing previous tax return forms from clients that are trying to work with you, what in California are some of the common mistakes that you see just over and over again from a majority of CPAs that you really like to point out first to these clients that it's not wrong, but it's not optimal. So talk to me about some of the things that are non-optimal that a lot of CPAs tend to do.
Yes, absolutely. So, not only specific to California, but more on a just a general, even federal level, the number one thing that I see that is a huge contributor to paying too much in taxes is messy, inaccurate financial statements.
Hmm.
I have story after story, even being in business now for a year, story after story of clients coming to me. I take a look at their books and I immediately know it's not accurate. And the reason why your financial statements are so critical to your tax return is that's the basis of your tax return. So your daily transactions of your business are being categorized by your bookkeeper, by your accountant within your accounting software, most likely QuickBooks. And things, it's easy for things to get off track. It really is. And I can tell you exactly a client that I met with yesterday. This is a well established business. They are doing 13 million plus in sales. And when I looked at their previous tax returns and then I looked at their financial statements, they're off. They don't match.
Hmm.
The a bare basic type of tax preparation is that your financial statements match to your tax return.
Hmm.
So if your CPA is not doing a level of diligence over your financial statements during tax planning, ideally, or during tax preparation, you're not getting the highest service that you could be.
Hmm.
The financial statements is technically management's responsibility of a business. That task is usually delegated to a bookkeeper or an accountant type person. But as the CPA, there is such a level of diligence that is assessed over the financial statements that is part of the added value service of preparing a tax return is that I'm double checking that the financial statements are absolutely correct.
Hmm.
And so often the financial statements come to me and they're just nowhere near correct. So if your CPA, again, is not checking your financial statements and tying things out to the penny, you are not receiving the highest level of service that you could be.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a dance, the financial statement and the return. It's almost like how can a CPA actually say that they're doing a good job if you actually pull it apart and the financial statements aren't in sync? But like you said, story after story after story of just
It's
mismatch. It's like not like a kind of almost a job of back to like not my responsibility, doesn't fall in my line, even though the tax stuff does. And like you said, ultimately it falls back on management, but then shame on the CPA for not being diligent enough to make sure that those line up. And then here's the thing: when is it going to be found out? Not right away. Maybe
nope,
you finally get audited, right? Which always could happen. You finally get audited, right, and they start digging into a couple of years, and real quick. That's going to matter quite a bit. So this guys goes back to like sleeping well at night. Is that if you know that financial statements are being produced every month, that your bookkeeping's on point, that your CPA and you are actually meeting because as a business owner, things change all the time and you're always
all the
pulled in a lot
time.
of different directions, right? So make sure also that your CPA is not only meeting with you at the end of the year, that at least maybe at least one other time in the year as you're buying new buildings, as you're taking on new equipment, that your CPA is part of helping you make good decisions because it's not that they're going to
Absolutely.
tell you not to buy the building or buy the equipment, but maybe in a certain way it changes the whole financial statement and you drop another 50,000 to the bottom line because it was done at the right time and in the right way, guys. So again, Kristen is saying that one of the most common mistakes is financial statements not lining up. But then another point that I would make then is that you are don't have a partnership with your CPA where they're also happy helping you on tax strategy, especially as a business owner, because every dollar really does count, and your CPA should care about it just as much as you do.
Absolutely. And in my experience with two other clients, um, that had come to me, and I actually ended up amending their previous year's tax returns because, again, the financial statements didn't accurately portray on the tax return. Those two clients together ended up in over $65,000 of refunds by going back and fixing the financial statements, re-preparing the tax return with accurate numbers, and all of a sudden their tax liability drops substantially. So it isn't a couple grand here and there, it's big numbers that you're dealing with as a business owner. And if your financial statements are not correct and your CPA is not accurately reflecting them on your tax return, it could be costing you. And that's money that could be have a higher and better use in your life. As business owners, the money that we're making is allowing our life to be possible. So,
Hmm.
it isn't like this is some slush fund that, oh, big deal, it's just going to taxes. No way, that's money coming right out of your pocket that is going into the IRS's pocket, and they're happy for it.
And a
So,
$65,000 difference for a business owner is the difference between like hiring a manager and actually getting some more oxygen, maybe that you needed in your personal life, which kept the business going. And like you said, this is not trust fund money. And even if it does, like up and down the ladder, right? Trust fund money all the way down to like you need your last penny. It all matters. It's
it all
oxygen.
matters.
It's value. You're owed the value that you did. And by not paying attention to the details, guys, year after year, this just compounds because if you're missing a $65,000 refund one year, if that's just replicated over the next 10 years, you're almost $700,000 behind and you just don't even know. And you're closing your doors because for whatever reason, you're tired of it or the business didn't work right. So, Kristen, that's what I really love too is that you taking this on. And I think this is why you needed to actually be on your own is that you could really move fast, be nimble, care about these things, be a superhero for people, and then also not be bogged down by the bandwidth of, just such a majority of clients. Because I think, to some CPAs, that is the credit, the workload that's put on them. It's kind of like general doctor sometimes, right? When you got 15-minute slots to see people, no matter how much you care about people's health, there's only so much that you're going to deliver in the way that the job allocates that you can deliver for people. So testament
Absolutely true.
to yeah, testament to you for making your own business. So another question that I had that I thought was good, and this is the one that I think I had back in the day, and I just ended up creating my LLC. But for our younger entrepreneurs or even regular entrepreneurs that are getting going, it's there's analysis paralysis. So sometimes we want to get the website, get the business cards, get the LLC, do everything right from the beginning. And sometimes it is just about taking action. So if someone just gets going, right, they got an idea, let's make some money and let's see if this is viable, right?
Yes.
What dollar amount do they need to be bringing in a yearly basis where it starts making sense to actually incorporate? And I know that that's industry specific, but just in general, when does a business make a certain dollar that crosses a threshold that really starts making sense to be incorporated versus just being yourself?
Absolutely good question. So the first sort of hurdle that I would address is what's the nature of the business. If this is a high risk, high liability type business, for example, if you own a boat and you're taking out guests on a charter, that's a
Mm-hmm.
high risk business.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have an LLC from the beginning, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
and operate as an LLC. Dollar signs aren't super critical when making that decision. Again, if you're in a high risk business,
That's
if
really
you're in
good.
a lower
Good
risk
point.
business, let's say you're a dog walker. If you're in a lower risk business, the question would be, does it make sense for me to operate as an LLC, or do I just stay in business as a sole proprietor?
Mm-hmm.
From a tax perspective, a sole proprietor is simply a Schedule C. Your income is reported on a schedule within your individual income tax return, and it's a simple schedule. You report gross income, expenses, your net is taxed at your ordinary income rate, and your assessed self employment taxes. with the dollar amount, I would say that you have to consider, first of all, which state you're operating in. Because for California, for example, there is an $800 minimum tax every single year.
Mm-hmm.
So you could start your LLC and have zero income, zero expenses. You're still paying $800 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one part of the decision. Other states aren't as aggressive with their minimum tax for LLCs. Some states have no tax for LLCs in terms of just operating in that state. So it depends on your state also. And then again, going back to the dollar amount, if you're already an LLC and you're just an individual, it wouldn't make sense for you to then essentially elect to be taxed as an S corporation until your net income is around 60, 70,000. So that is your net income.
Got it.
And the reason
Which
why it's
means, guys, net means after expenses. I know a majority of you
yes,
guys do, but sometimes I've heard when we start going into ROI and business terms, right? So
yes,
net meaning gross would mean the full amount that came in the business. Net would mean gross minus the expenses of the business. The net reaching that 60, 70,000 level.
yes, exactly. So the decision to initially incorporate or organize as an LLC, again, it really matters on what the nature of your business is and how much personal liability protection you need. So for example, when I started my business, I had a consultation with a local attorney to understand the Florida state laws that govern Florida corporations or a Florida LLC. So for me, um, this what I do as a CPA, preparing tax returns and performing tax strategy for my clients, it can be high risk, right? One of my
Mm-hmm.
clients could sue me for making a mistake on their tax return.
Sure.
So immediately I got business insurance, which is another protection for my business. So
Mm-hmm.
even though me as an individual, Kristen Arnold, is protected because I operate as a professional limited liability company in Florida, I still have errors and omission professional liability insurance, and I take protecting my personal assets very seriously because what I'm building in my life deserves to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, business is nothing to take lightly, and it's a big decision to go into business, and it requires a lot of diligence. So, as part of your decision to start your business, consult with an attorney. It's maximum $300 to $400 an hour. You probably only need to talk to them for 30 minutes. They might offer a complimentary consultation. Speak with an attorney and let them tell you for your specific state what the best operating structure for you is going to be. I thought for
Mm-hmm.
me in Florida, it was going to be a professional association. The attorney let me know it's not. And that's why I'm here today as a professional limited liability company. So even a CPA with industry experience who's confident and competent to make that sort of decision, even I was incorrect and I could be in a different boat than I am today had I chosen the incorrect operating entity for
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think don't be afraid. I think we realized that in the Lisa Sutton episode, guys, which is don't be afraid to spend some money for something you don't know,
Don't be. That's
especially
an
if it'll
investment.
yeah, it really is like what amount of money would be worth it to know how to like run exactly the way you want to for the next 10 to 20 years, and then also sometimes to have the opportunity like respect other people's time and respect the fact that they have 20 years in on the law side and can actually showcase this is what it looks like to be a professional association. This is what it wasn't. Is the $200 worth it every single day? Is $1,000 worth it, right? Like when it starts coming back to that, a mistake on the other side of picking incorrectly could be everything, you know.
Absolutely. And it
So
could
I think
require you to go back in time and amend things and fix things. Again, shortcuts are truly the long way. Get that foundation set up from inception to be rock solid, bulletproof. That way you're focusing on promoting and growing the business rather than, am I even set up properly for what I'm trying to do?
I love it. I love it. So I have a side question. I know you alluded to that you were working towards like a natural bikini bodybuilding stage, and but with your hip stuff, did you actually get to walk? Did you actually get to walk a stage, or did the hip thing completely stop you? Are we going to find some 2015 Kristen Arnold Women's International Visalia photos somewhere
That
in
is
the
so
mix?
freaking funny. No, it got to a point which this actually, now that I'm thinking about this, this actually can be applicable to business too.
Okay.
The trainer that I was working with, as well as the nutrition coach, a person, um, they again were not servicing me as their client in the
Mm,
highest and best way. So it ended up being a safety concern for me personally and physically, not only with my hip, but with my nutrition. Like I was near passing out at the gym when I was going towards the end because my calories were set so low and I was doing 3 hours of cardio a day on top of lifting. So it honestly became like a personal safety concern. And at that point, I had to choose my personal health over completing this goal that I had set for myself. So I never actually got on stage.
okay, got it. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that. I know we teased at that earlier. So with respect to your time, Kristen, because guys, this is costing me. I'm just kidding. But with respect to your time, Kristen, we will get to the power three. This is three questions that I ask every single guest. It's been a pleasure today, guys. Like if you can go back and listen to this, I think sometimes people will pass by information like this, like, okay, that was cool, and then you just continue on. But I really recommend listening again to this episode and actually maybe even taking some notes. This is somebody who's really competent in their field. And what's cool about a CPA, same thing for being in real estate, we get a lot of exposure to people from different industries. So it becomes really easy to be cohesive and see what some really good strategy and general advice is versus being kind of siloed in one industry and one thing that you do all the time, right? Without exposure to other industries. So to get to the power three, this is three questions that we ask every single guest so we can kind of pull some of the gems and diamonds that successful people have on any of the roads to journeys. And I like your road and where it's going, Kristen. So question number one is this, learning recommendation. If someone today was looking over Kristen Arnold's shoulder over the last week or maybe last couple weeks, what's something that you've really been interested in? It could be taxes, could be completely outside of that field that just personally has been interesting to you that you've been looking into that might be interesting to somebody in the audience?
That is such a relevant question for me right now because I have been communicating with a potential business coach slash consultant.
Okay.
So I am such an advocate for mentorship and surrounding yourself with